Hey, everybody, let me summon Chris Keogh.
I'm an easy person to summon. Clearly.
Yeah, because you're just pressing play on the camera.
Pentagrams or anything like that.
So, welcome to A Brit of Alright, as ever. I'm Alex Boardman.
I'm Chris Keogh, as you've just been informed.
Brit of Alright, if you don't know what it is by now, you're an idiot. You can't be bothered. It's a sort of anti-racist, anti-Farage, very gentle podcasty show where we look at things that are good about being British.
Yes.
I've cocked up a little bit, but I just couldn't help it. So I normally do a food or a drink or something like that, and today's drink is Bovril. And
which traverses the two genres.
Food and drink,
I would say.
More than you might think when we go into the history of it in a second. But so it was invented by a Scotsman. I've drunk mine already. So it's now packaged in, I think it was
a lot of pepper in that one.
Yeah, a lot of pepper in mine. It's my tongue is on fire. So it's a drink that you traditionally, probably, the first time I had it, I can remember, was at the football, and it was only something that you kind of would get it in a jar, a bit like a Marmite jar, quite a distinctive shape.
And a little squat.
Yeah, it's
thing.
kind of, and it's still in the exact same shape jar together today.
They've not changed the branding or anything.
They've not changed anything. So these came in a pack of 10, and they had like a powdered version that they're almost something you'd take to work, and it's absolutely super tasty. So what do we know about Bovril? Well, Bovril, let me remember his name, John Lawson Johnston, who's from...
I thought he was going to say he was called John Bovril.
John Bovril. No, we'll talk about etymology of it in a minute, but he was a Scotsman. He's from Midlothian.
Okay.
So he emigrated. His father was a butcher. He emigrated to Canada as quite a successful butcher.
Right.
And Bovril, in 1870, he is John Lawson Johnston. He's contacted by Napoleon
Bonaparte.
Napoleon III.
Right, okay.
Because of the Franco-Prussian War.
Yeah.
And the French soldiers are freezing to death.
Yeah.
And they're also highly malnourished. And Napoleon sends an order to the Canadian ex-Scotsman who now lives in Canada, John Lawson Johnson, and orders 1 million tins of beef.
Right. Okay.
Right. So
imagine if you got that, you'd be going,
this is a wind up. So
Napoleon wants 1 million tins of beef.
Get him on the phone. But how on earth must that have been delivered? That note, and then you receive it. Anyway,
how did he know about? You know what I mean? There's the whole thing there.
It must have been the biggest, because if you think of Canada, somewhere like Alberta is like the size of Texas.
Yeah.
He's like the same as Texas in the fact they've got oil and they've got cattle, and Canada's empty. So there must have been at this time. It's probably the most beef cattle in the world.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he's gone to this dude.
Right.
He can't fulfil that order because he's not got that 1 million tins of beef. Yeah. So instead, he comes up with, he'd been experimenting anyway from an early age in his dad's butcher's shop of trying to make things like lots of butchers do with the byproducts and the off products.
Yeah.
So he's invented an essence that they called Johnston's liquid beef. And it was essentially what you would get in a Bovril pot now, that brown like liquid
sludge
that you drink with hot water.
Yeah.
And it turns it into this drink. Anyway, it's got all the nutritional benefits. Bone broth is something that's massive at the minute. So it's got massive nutritional benefits. Yeah. So he sends that to Napoleon instead. And it was called for a while, and then he starts to produce it commercially. And it was called Johnston's Liquid Beef. And then about 10 or so, 11 years after, so 1881, I think, he realises that's a crap name. So he needs a better sounding name. So Bovril is 2 words put together. So the first one, bov, is from bovine.
Okay.
So it's from the Latin for cow or beef.
Yeah.
And then the next bit is the vril, comes from a novel that was
Vril.
like a sci-fi novel at the time.
All right.
So there's these like alien beings who exist. They're called vril la, and they've got these superpowers and they're super energetic and really strong. And the essence that they drink.
They always are aliens, aren't they?
Yes. Is called vril, and that's what gives them all their power.
As in from virility, almost.
Possibly, yes.
Oh, okay.
So this is from the book. I can't remember who wrote the book, but I think it's 1881.
So it's basically Beef Life.
It was a big, it was a big seller. So we put those two things together, and it was like a massive, I can't think
That's like marketing
genius.
Oh,
So
okay.
also marketing genius. Bovril is known to be excellent at marketing for many years, because they were one of the first companies to actively. They've got ties with the First World War. They've got ties with the Boer War, because as soon as Napoleon ordered it.
So is this what he said? He said, "I can't send you beef.
I can't send you beef
loads of beef
because we haven't got it. But I can send you the essence. This boiled down
all the
that
cows.
turns into a liquid
Right.
that you can make easily on the front. This is the thing. It's portable. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's really. It's just waste products, really, stuff that would not really have been used.
So when we've all been at the football in a Bovril at half time, we are channeling
Napoleon
soldiers on the front line in the Franco-Prussian
and
War.
also British soldiers. So a bit like when we looked at Mars bars, how but this probably does have legitimate health benefits to it.
Yeah.
Because it's absolutely full of protein, full of iron, and very low calorie and very low.
Yeah.
And also, if you,
I've forgotten how nice it
it's
is.
so great, isn't it? So I got mine instantly by putting a bit of pepper in. So one more fact about Bovril. I think it's made in Stoke now. It's been made in Stoke for the last 40 years, but it originally was Midlothian man via Canada.
Right. Okay.
That invented it. And for 2 years they made a vegetarian version, and it was about 2002, 2003, 2004, and it was in response to the BSE crisis, I think. But it was you weren't allowed to export British beef in any form to Europe.
Was that
world.
then? 2002?
Well, I thought it was the 90s, but it must have come back.
Well, there was a foot and mouth thing, wasn't there?
Maybe it was that then.
2001.
But when I looked at it said bovine, whatever it was called. So the initials were BSE. But I remember that as being in the 90s, and maybe it just came back.
Yeah.
But for 2 years, I think it's 2002, 2003, 2004, you weren't allowed to export British beef products.
Right, okay.
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So they got round it by putting in flavourings and a yeast extract, turning it into a bit more like Marmite, which is vegetarian.
Yeah.
And then so many people complained that it didn't taste the same and it wasn't any good. They reverted back in 2004, and it's been the same ever since.
Right, okay.
And it is, for most people, it's the taste of football, isn't it? It's an outdoor drink. It's often called beef tea.
Beef tea. Yeah. Beef tea is referenced, as in specifically beef tea, is referenced in a Elvis Presley poem.
Was it?
Yeah.
Which one?
I can't remember, but I just know because I was in that play in which I played Elvis Presley.
Oh right.
And the play was based on his Poetic Off license. And so the words in the script were sort of excerpts from different bits of the poem. And there's definitely a bit about beef tea, I remember. But I don't know which poem it was from, because we weren't just reading out the poems, you know what I mean? Because there's a one or two about football, you know what I mean? Because he was a big
yes. So one of these things, like, I need you, like an outside left needs a body swerve. That was one of his things.
I rely on you.
I rely on you, yeah. I rely on you, like an outside left needs a body swerve, like a diesel needs endless dirt.
Yeah.
Like a lorry. And then he had another one about the Olympics possibly being in Manchester, so I wonder if it was that. And the last line of it was, Lisa Stansfield sings, Bobby Charlton's haircut forms the 5 Olympic ring. I used to gig with him, so that, obviously he's been dead a long time now, but it's funny how 25 years on, you can remember like bits of, just from seeing somebody live.
Yeah.
He was from Bolton.
He is the Bard
Yeah.
of Bolton. Yeah. Anyway,
So Bovril, does it go in?
oh, definitely. I'm really enjoying it. It reminds
so
me
good,
of,
isn't it?
It is football. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like you come half time, go down, get
Yeah.
a Bovril,
And it's
keep
dirt
warm.
cheap. It always used to be, even at Premiership grounds. It's at most of the grounds I've been to, and it's not normally super expensive like they do with it. I mean, it's still probably £2.53 now.
Yeah,
But it used to be like 50p, and it's so good.
My dad used to have something. He used to have it as like a meal, not his main meal, but like if he was a bit hungry after tea, sort of thing. And it was called Pobs, right?
Right.
Which I have no idea what Pobs stood for. But I assume it stood for pieces of bread because basically it was Bovril. He used to have this is the most northern thing you've ever had. It was Bovril in a pint tankard, you know, those classic ones like that.
Yeah.
With bits of bread broken up.
Croutons.
So basically, it was like beef consommé with croutons, but in the Bolton style.
Well, my mum used to have beef dripping sandwiches. She always talks about beef dripping, like when you were skint, you'd have a loaf of bread, and you'd get, when they came in from school, they were to cut a slice of bread and melt some beef dripping and just dip it in like a fried bread in beef dripping.
Yeah.
So,
but the thing is though, like, we sort of laugh at these.
Oh my
these
God,
things,
it's just.
But and I've said it before. If this was France or somewhere like that, these would all be sort of romanticised so much more, and people would be thinking it was cool, sort of haute cuisine.
But they always have versions of everything as well that independently grow up all over the world.
Yeah.
Using the same sort of ingredient. And also, you think, like I saw somebody the other day on a TV programme or something, and they had a pot noodle sandwich. So I can remember being skint at uni and having a pot noodle because you couldn't be asked, or you didn't know how to make food. So you could make a pot noodle. And then being like hungry halfway through it and just going, oh, do you know what, I'll just have some bread and dip in the bread in the pot noodle.
Yeah. I used to put like a pie in soup.
Oh.
You know, like have a sort of like tin of soup in a pan. Cook a pie and put the pie in the soup.
I was originally going to do mulligatawny.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Because I thought it was a Scottish, because I first had it in Scotland. So in my head.
And because you've sort of like done the mental like mulligan type.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it turns out he's Indian.
Yeah,
so I couldn't have it.
Yeah, it's spicy, isn't it?
And then I went, oh, I'll do oxtail soup. And then I was like, oh, that's not. And then I was like, I'll just do Bovril. And it was, I drank mine. I couldn't even do a live tasting.
At sort of record speed.
I
put a lot
tongue
of pepper
on it,
in
and you put a lot of pepper in, so my burnt tongue is now full of pepper, so my mouth's on fire. But it's so worth it. If you're young and you've never had Bovril, it's probably about $1.50 for a jar.
I also like that you brought it in these incredibly environmentally unfriendly plastic cups.
It's just what they came in.
Because it's what they come in.
From on
and it's like,
Barney's.
do you remember when you used to go swimming?
Yes.
And they'd always have like a sort of vending machine there, and everything would come in these.
And it was lukewarm.
Burn your hand as well.
And then at the end,
those horrible orange drinks.
It wasn't mixed properly.
Yeah, it just be all sludge
there's
at the
still
bottom.
all the sludge there, which is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
So if somebody had a coffee before you, out of the same pipe that was now hot, you'd get an orange, and it was like warm and taste of coffee and milk.
Yeah. It's horrible.
But that is stunning. That's
and then you
nectar.
have some iced gems. They always sell
Oh
them.
yeah. I didn't think they were any good.
They weren't, but they just remind me of going swimming when I was a kid.
Right, I don't
You know
know
what I
why.
mean? Because you used to always have them at the baths.
I do.
Yeah, at Farnworth Pool. See, this is me, sort of like main character syndrome. Well, that was my experience, therefore
So that's
everybody in the world.
See, that's a very modern phrase, isn't it?
Main character syndrome.
Main character syndrome.
But you are the main character in your own life.
Well, here's the other thing: is I'm not sure I am. I don't do much. There's not many heroic quests.
You don't need to go on heroic quests to be the main character in your story.
Yeah, it wouldn't be much of a movie. Would
you be like one of the other ones in the background? You know, like in a disaster film. You know, the ones that someone just runs past and everyone has to fight someone. Would that be you?
I'm like an extra. In my own.
It's Godzilla, and then that's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do that. I'd just be either snoozing on a sofa or just having what's going on.
Wake up after and look at the window like, well, I could have missed something. But, yeah.
I always think as well, like I've thought about this loads of times. Like if like when they say, "Oh, you've only got a year to live, you've only got 6 months to live. You should live your life like you've only got 6 months to live, so you have no regrets and stuff like that." And I was like, "What if I had one day to live? what would I do? And I was like, I'd probably, ideally, get up late, have a nap in the middle of the day. Maybe I'd start drinking earlier.
Yeah. Just get
5 o'clock, first can.
Yeah.
What a final day. Let's watch telly. That's probably what I'd do.
Yeah, you're not going like swimming with dolphins, which is what people mean anyway when they sort of say that. You just do the things that you enjoy doing.
Which is sitting on my sofa watching telly.
Yeah, and drinking.
Yeah. And eating crisps.
Bovril for breakfast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazingly good, Bovril.
Yeah, it is.
It's gone in already. I've written it in there.
It should be as well.
Entry number 14.
Wow.
In the big book of A Brit of All Right, which we change the title every time. So I'm going to put something in that's linked to Bovril, as you mentioned. Then I'm going to put football in.
Yes, good.
I'm going to suggest football because football is great and also terrible at the same time.
Yeah, it's got worse. It definitely got worse in the last few
Part of the
years.
shitification of
The shitification of everything, and the sports. It happens with sports a lot because they think that it has to be. So if you're American, for instance, I can totally understand you thinking football is boring. A 0-0 or a tie, any kind of draw.
I can't imagine an American watching a 0-0 game of football and thinking that was a good game of
football.
football. But I've seen some really good games of football that were 0-0.
Great tactical battles.
A perfect game of football should be 0-0.
Should be 0-0.
Both teams should play with enterprise and attacking play, and ultimately be thwarted by an organised defence. Is what should happen.
But I can remember when I was like 7 or 8. I think it would be the late 70s. Our football went to America. Soccer.
Yeah.
Which
was it like the New York Cosmos?
New York Cosmos and San Diego Rowdies, or that kind
Tampa Bay Rowdies, wasn't it?
Tampa Bay Rowdies. Detroit had one. Stampede. I don't know, whatever. But they had to introduce a thing that if it was a tie at the end, rather than it go to penalties, they used to get. This was kind of good. We thought this was dead exciting when we were little, but we were 6 and 7.
Yeah.
A player got the ball on the halfway line and he had 15 seconds to run to the goal and score, but he could only have a shot.
I think that's better than penalties.
Much better.
I think
much
it's
more
a
exciting.
better test of skill.
Yeah.
Than the randomness of penalties.
Yes, and also the penalties now are just so ridiculous, where they do this staggered.
Oh, you weren't allowed to do that once upon a time.
No.
And there's some of them because it's that you're not allowed to stop in your run up higher. You can do a little, like stutter.
But they stutter and they don't do a jump, and then
he does it a lot for Fernandes at United.
Bruno Fernandes does it a lot.
I'm sure at some point he actually stops in his run up.
I've seen nearly everybody that does it stops in the run up, and also I think Haaland does it as well. And then occasionally Haaland just whacks it. But Fernandes, I've seen miss a couple of penalties like that, and you go, if you'd have just taken a shot picked aside, I don't think he'd save it.
Yeah, just pick your spot and hit it there.
I also think if you're another thing that baffles me with football, if you're 20 yards out, yes, have a wall. If you're 35 yards, 40 yards out,
beat me from there.
Why have a wall? Because you're not going to beat any keeper in the Premier League
if
from
they
that
can
distance.
see the shot from
if they can see it all, it's only the fact they can't see it.
I suppose you couldn't stop the opposition from standing in your way.
No, that's
and therefore
what
you don't organise where that is.
Yeah,
but still, it
happens. So tell us about football then.
So football. So it is to tie it to Britain is that actually football, they reckon
an equivalent of football started over 2,000 years ago in China.
Wow.
And I've read this before, that it was about, they reckon that it was basically kicking around the heads of their vanquished foes.
Okay.
And then they made it into, let's make this more...
When's Genghis Khan?
Let's get a league going out of this.
Yeah. It's funny how things, we used to talk with the kids all the time, say you've got a bit of paper that you've written on and you don't need it, and you scrump it up and you throw it in the bin. If you miss... If you've got boys in the house, it might be the same with girls, I don't know, but I only have boys. One of them will be like, they'll get that, and then they'll move in your... And they'll try it, and then before you know it, you've just got a full pad just ripped up and it's a game.
Yeah. And what that is basically the young gorilla coming in to challenge the dominant alpha male.
That's
what it is. It's the same sort of thing. And if he gets in the bin, you have to go and live somewhere else.
I'm exiled. I have to be like a lone wolf that's been exiled from the back.
You have to go with all the other sad men. I wonder where they all go to. You know the sort of like
those vanquished
broken gorillas.
Broken lines. Well, you know the ones that that do the challenge of like most, like say lions, for instance, they'll try and take over a pride.
Yeah.
And then they'll group together almost like adolescents, and then they'll try and challenge the main lion or the existing pack.
Yeah.
For rights to breed with the females, and then they often fail because they're normally weaker and smaller and younger.
Yeah.
That's basically the manosphere. Is those like small, pathetic, weak-minded. Nobody wants to breed with them. So I wonder if it's the same like in the animal kingdom, if they all just sort of get together and just whinge. They're all. I started watching that last night, the Manosphere Louis Theroux program that everyone's talking about, and I turned it off after 20 minutes. I just find it boring because you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because straight away, all of them are very suspicious of Louis Theroux. And then he goes in and he's just so calm and he's silent, really. He'll ask him a question.
He sets him. He'd be a good barrister, Louis Theroux.
He's the king.
Because he just goes, I'll just set you off.
Yeah.
There, man.
Here's some
just
rope.
Carry on.
There's a beam there. If you want to throw that beam.
I'll just sit here and watch you and then...
that might fit around your neck. But it was. But what's interesting with that is there's like a big fraud involved, which is now essentially what's happened with football. It's just a massive financial.
It's so much money involved, isn't it? Yeah, but back when it was 2,000 years ago, when they were kicking, it was a more innocent time.
Jumpers for goalposts.
Toss for goalposts
And kicking round the head of your vanquished enemy.
So anyway, that's what it's sort of then, and I suspect there's been some sort of equivalent of kicking something around game
everywhere,
in all of that time.
But
football, sort of as we know it, first appeared in sort of like Nottinghamshire way.
Yeah.
In the sort of like 19th century, maybe sort of a bit earlier than that. And it were these big sort of mass brawls, basically.
Yeah.
And the big games, these get reenacted, don't they, every year?
Yeah, and
it's like dozens aside. There's no rules.
No, there's no rules.
And it was just fine. Very much a development on the sort of vanquishing of your foes type sort of thing. From China.
I think you get like a bundle of rags or there's something, and you like to pick them up, and you've got to get them somewhere.
Yeah, and it's just an excuse or a fight.
Massive brawl that lasts a day.
Yeah, and they reenact this in Nottinghamshire. They also reenact it I've been in Italy when they've had these big old school football match things there as well, and they've got stands and people come and watch it, and it's people just fighting basically. Yeah. So it goes from there, but then it first appears it becomes codified in 1863, I think. Because what happened?
Wow, how interesting! 7 years later, Bovril's invented. Just the two go hand in hand.
Yeah. So it started because it started like with basically the proles fighting each other.
Yeah.
And then that got sort of adopted by public schools like Winchester.
Yeah.
Who started to sort of create rules for it. And then they went on with rugby to form rugby football and all that sort of stuff. And then we have the codification of it in the first set of rules of football for association football, which is where the term soccer comes from. We always think of soccer being an American thing.
Yes,
but it started over here first.
Yeah.
As an abbreviation of association, because you had rugby football that was called rugby, and you had association football that became soccer.
My granddad always said rugby football.
Yeah.
He just said rugby football.
Yeah.
I think it must have been but that was league, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if you look at the sort of names of clubs in rugby, it's like RUFC, Rugby Union Football Club, or RLFC, Rugby League Football Club. Yeah. But so it starts there, and then we had the league was formed I can't remember the year, 1888. So you go from 1863, where you have rules, and it's probably played in schools and also like associations in. So it's all sort of like mill towns and so on. And as we
was a northern thing, wasn't it?
Midlands up to northern. It's an
yeah.
Industrial Revolution thing. Like lots of the things we've talked about starts in places like this, on these very terraced streets that we're sitting upon, is where it's the cradle of civilization. This is ancient.
Bolton is not the cradle of civilization.
This is ancient Egypt. People in ancient Egypt would have been saying that back then. You know what I mean?
But it is the world's game. And it came...
the beautiful game they call it, because all you need. I remember my dad explained this to me once, and it really stuck with me. All you need is one person and one football, and
away you go.
You can't do that with most sports.
No, you can't.
So
there's a real simplicity to the best sports. absolute.
Yeah.
Like if you got a wall and the ball, my God, there's thousands of games.
Yeah, exactly.
You got some chalk. It's
Or
like
a curb or a lamp post.
Yeah,
You ever played lamp here? We had to kick it against the lamp post.
we
That was
played
like...
that. Yeah, it was not great. Kirby was...
It gets your passing improved though, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Do you remember Wall-E?
Wall-E.
Not the film, so the game Wall-E.
I was disappointed when the film wasn't just some kids kicking a bottle and arguing. It never touched me.
One touch. So there's 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch Wall-E.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's
So
really
football was the best. That's where I first had Bovril at Chadderton FC with my granddad when I was
watching sport
6 or 7.
Is about that. I go watching. It's difficult to watch football in that way now.
Yes.
I do go to watch rugby league in that way. I go to watch Mayfield, which is a team in Rochdale that my cousin used to play for. And they've got a little ground. There's normally about 200 people on.
Yeah.
It's a £5 to get in. There's a clubhouse there. It's £2.80 a pint or whatever it is.
There's pies at half time.
You can walk around. There's never any trouble. You can and it's just great.
Well, what I miss about those days, and the first time I went to a proper match, I was astounded that you couldn't just move
Just walk
with
around.
the ball.
Yeah.
Because you're a kid, so you just like, and also then there's other kids there. So one of you's got the ball, which always happens, or you took one, and then 10 minutes into that game, you're bored.
Yeah.
And then you're all playing at the side. Because football, when you're about 7 and you see it in real life, even at Chadderton, although Chadderton were good, they had David Platt. Started at Chadderton FC.
He's from round here, isn't he?
He's the number 7, and then he went on to be England captain. And we used to watch him.
Crew with his professional team.
Possibly,
right, okay.
possibly.
So they must have signed him from Chadderton.
Probably, yeah. But he ended up he was at Arsenal and Villa.
And he played for a long time in Italy. Once upon a time, David Platt and Juventus. Somewhere else, I think. And because at one point he was cumulatively the most expensive footballer in the world
for all the moves
for every move. He never got the record transfer, but every move he had was a big money transfer because he was really high the rate.
We saw him and he was really young, but he was so fast and he never stopped running, and he was just so much better than everybody else. So they had a really good team. It was great to watch football in those days like that. But also at the same time, it was boring because they're so impossibly big and strong when you're 7 that you're like, this bears no relationship
There's a
to what I
massive gap
play.
between what I'm doing and this.
But then you would like look at it and go, oh, one day I'll be able to. Even just things like taking a dead ball and it going out of the 18-yard line when you're tiny. Because at half time you run on these pitches. So you'd play, and it was really muddy and stuff, so they'd let you on, especially after the game. So the people would be trying to take the nets down, and you'd be there trying to blast the ball in, but you couldn't reach because you were so little. So you'd kick it, and you'd be like, I'll take a penalty, and then it wouldn't reach the line. And you'd be like, you're only 7.
Yeah, 12 yards is quite a long way.
Oh, it's Bovril. So what are the...
So 1888 was the league started.
The first league.
So who were the founding members of Britain?
Right, I've heard this many times. But
it's one of the classic. This is pub chat of yesterday, where you would before you had phones and someone would just check, you would just have a list of them. So go on.
Yeah.
So there are.
This is the kind of thing where if we were good at this, we'd go, hey, answers in the comments. What were there?
12.
Right. Okay. So these are the teams that I know that have got a lot of history. So I'm going to go with some of these. Stoke.
Yes.
Bolton Wanderers.
Yes.
Blackpool.
No.
Huddersfield.
No.
Notts County.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday.
No.
Ooh.
Shocked you.
Blackburn.
Yeah.
Derby.
Derby County, yeah.
How many have I got?
5.
Oh God, I've got 7 to go. Accrington Stanley?
No.
Accrington
FC.
FC.
Yeah.
Okay. Clitheroe?
No.
I'm just thinking about Lancashire. Give us where they're from. Are they from Yorkshire?
So you've got.
Is this an entertaining podcast, or is this just me saying words?
This is just you saying. This is you just now trying to list as many towns.
I give up. Are they Lancashire, Yorkshire?
They're all in either Lancashire or down towards the Midlands.
Right.
Including one that was in Lancashire at the time, but he's not now Lancashire.
So that was Liverpool.
But it's not Liverpool.
Everton?
Everton, yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Right, who else is there?
So, I'll go through the list because I can't remember what you said now. Accrington.
Yeah.
Aston Villa.
Villa, of course. Yeah. Of course, Villa, yeah.
Blackburn. Bolton, Burnley, Derby,
Burnley.
Everton, Notts County, Preston North End.
Oh, Preston North End, I've been there, I knew that.
Stoke, and then 2 more Midland ones, West Brom and
Wolves.
Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolves
So there we
used
go.
to have the coolest kit because they used to have 3 wolves as their badge. That was it. It never said wolves. And
Right,
it
okay.
was just 3 black wolves for the black country.
Yeah.
And an orange kit. So cool.
That is cool.
So cool.
Yeah. So it was like between here and the Midlands basically, and it was it was all. And if you look at it, I always just wonder why, because around here you've got basically football and rugby league as the main sports, and there's 1 or 2 rugby union-y type places that are more well to do.
Yeah.
But as working class sports in terms of winter sports, football and rugby league, and I was trying to think, why is one in one town, and what makes each one each town?
Yeah. And what is it?
I think
Canals?
I don't know. I think it's to do with what were the main industry
Cotton.
there. So if you look at all the towns there that are football towns, they're all mill towns, aren't they? Like Blackburn, Bolton, Burnley.
Yeah.
And there have been sort of like mines around it, but it's mainly cotton is the main industry.
Yeah. So there's no Barnsley, and there's no Newcastle, and there's no Wales.
No. So and then if you look on the M62 corridor, most of the sort of rugby league places are more sort of like pit towns, like mine.
Ah, okay.
So like Wigan and places like that. And just Wigan and then all the other towns. But it's like, and there's always a crossover. So of course there's a bit of cotton industry in those and some mine and others, but that seems to be the main difference as far as I can see. That's just my observation. I might be wrong on that. So this is the sort of thing, if someone wants to comment and tell me why that is, why rugby league in some and why football in others, I think it's to do with, it seems to be a correlation that football seems to be more in mill towns and rugby league seems to be more in pit towns.
Well, if you think I don't know how much movement there was in those days, but let's say you're in Bolton and you worked in a mill. Say you're a piecer in a mill and then you get sacked and you have to go to the next town to work.
Yeah.
Or, there's a shortage of pieces in Bolton and they go, well, we've got loads in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
The people migrate economically to get the job, and maybe they bring it with them, or maybe it's via, unions weren't a thing then, but maybe it's via like just the people that are delivering the cotton to all these different places and start saying, they've got a team in Wolves.
Yeah. Well, I think that, for example, if you look at some of the Italian teams, they've got English names.
Loads of them have English roots.
Because they were sort of formed by Englishmen who were over there.
Yeah.
And I think that football was introduced, I might be wrong here again, so any Italian viewers tell me I'm wrong here. I think they introduced it into like Genoa, which should be Genova in Italian.
I've been, it's great.
It's called Genoa, and they've got like, so the St George's Cross comes from Genoa originally as well.
Yeah.
And I think it started there because that's a port and it spread from there. So Genoa, AC Milan rather than Milano.
And they've got the St George's flag. So I'm there with Alfa Romeo on there.
Yeah. There's lots of it there. So it's like I think football's brilliant. And like I say, in its purest sense, I love it.
Yeah.
I really love being overseas when there's like an international tournament on. Watching it there and watching, I've watched like the World Cup in Italy and I've watched it in Spain and things like that. It's really cool.
So me and my eldest we were watching, I think it was Juventus Real Madrid, and we were in a bar in Spain on our holidays, and we really want to watch this. And Ronaldo was playing for. So he'd been at Real Madrid, but he moved to Juventus. And it's when he scored that overhead kick that was like about 8 foot in the air.
Was it that, or was it a header? There
was a massive header, but there's an overhead kick he scored.
Okay, yeah.
And we watched it, and everybody in the bar was just like, how has he got so high and done this amazing like overhead kick? And it was one of these places where there were bottles of San Miguel, cold, and then they were bringing out little bits of tapas just in this tiny little bar with a telly on, and everybody was utterly engrossed in it.
Yeah.
And they didn't speak up really very much, enough Spanish to properly know what was going on, but you communicate with everybody and you're like, this is just the best. And it's like football really does that. I've sat in barber shops in Turkey and watched like Galatasaray be playing. And you just sat there while the kids are having their haircut. Having your haircut's a great thing to do on holidays.
It's a universal language, having watched football, though, isn't it? It is a point of sort of like communion with other people.
Because they'll be like, and you know exactly what they mean and you don't know what they're saying.
I remember watching Senegal against Sweden, I think, in the World Cup in 2002. That was in Japan, and Senegal had a really good tournament, sort of out of nowhere. And I watched it on the telly at Pisa train station with all the, so around the train station, you've got lots of the sort of African migrants who were sort of, like trying to sell things from sort of like suitcases and what have you. And they basically all took their lunch hour from selling stuff, and we're all there just watching Senegal play, and Senegal scored and it went mental.
Yeah,
it was
it's
brilliant.
brilliant. I was at Amsterdam Airport 2 years ago when the Euros was on, and you got like 2 hours between planes, and everyone's just stood this one bar-y restaurant at this massive telly, and it was like 8 deep of people just stood there watching the footy and all the people in the restaurant. And then somebody scored, and like half of them were happy, and most weren't bothered. But it was like, oh my god, it just
it's great.
And everybody, if you think of an airport, everyone's from all over the world.
Yeah.
I love.
And you can,
love football. So much.
It's that you can do that with it. There's lots of things about the modern game that I think are rubbish and
Yeah,
it's ruining it a little
things.
bit. But you can still have those moments.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. So that's why I'm saying football should go in. Albert Camus said that everything he knows about life and about the human condition that you learn from football. So
I think the reason I was able to be a comedian was because of things I learned in football teams about yourself and about just keeping going. And,
there's loads, isn't there?
And other people can get it from other, some comedians used to do art and some used to do whatever they did, and they bring that to it. But for me, it was the football attitude of like, partly being in teams and of like, being really nervous before you played. And then just
going on stage is being pre-match nervous.
It feels
that
same thing. And then 5 minutes in, you're all right.
You get your first touch out of the way.
Get your first laugh. Your first laugh is the same as like, hit that centre forward as hard as you can first time. It's that exact same thing. Yeah. Football's not even a question. How could it not be? We should do cricket and also rugby. I've really tried. I grew up in a rugby family and I just could never get my head around it.
Yeah, because rugby's quite a big ground job, isn't it? Oldham and Rochdale and places like that, I believe. So again, like I say, they're the exceptions that prove my rule as being maybe not a rule.
Well, my granddad kept wanting me to do rugby, and he was more into rugby. He used to follow Oldham all the way around. Oh wow!
Yeah, it's gone.
I'll be in somebody's garden terrorising a tit and probably eating a blackbird as we speak. But and then I was like, I just don't like it, and then I'll take it to football, which he liked as well, but not the same.
Yeah. So football's in.
Football's the best thing in the world.
Okay, we've got 15 then, which is too
We've
many
not
for
even
football.
got beer in yet. We've got pubs in.
Beer. We're gonna have to do.
Beer.
We'll have to do a special where we go to the pub and do beer and just try lots of different types of beer. That'd be good. Yeah. So.
Perfect. That was a great one. Bovril and football
together at last.
Does not get better than that.
Exactly.
Does it? Right. That's full time.
Full time.
Bye.